Volbeat with Seal the Deal and Let's Boogie. This is a perfect album for the first week of June. Perfect music to really listen to while taking a nice drive with the windows down. And maybe it's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas style. And we review this in a shirt that is blood red that will soon be drenched in sweat with cicadas humming their native tune outside. If you wonder just how closely related you as a metalhead are to a cicada, check out yesterday's video. It's interesting. We have to talk about Seal the Deal and Let's Boogie by Volbeat. Now, their last album, Outlaw Gentlemen and Shady Ladies, was seen as another success. This is one where the Danes continue to perpetuate and show what their sound is all about. So this is something that has not been in the United States the whole entire time this band has been active. They've had a large fan base in their home region that has really spread to the world scene and has caused a lot of people to get involved and interested. So does this album here, does Seal the Deal and Let's Boogie, offer anything that's altogether radically different from what we have heard from these guys in the past? And the answer to that question is actually an emphatic no. But does it matter? And the answer to that question is, once again, an emphatic no. These guys are kind of like Kiss. You kind of love them or hate them, but the only difference is that Kiss's primary gimmick was the stage show and the makeup and that experience, where these guys just have the talent for, writing some pretty good songs and applying the styles that they've employed within them. So you take a listen to a song such as the first single, The Devil's Bleeding Crown, which we talked about earlier this year, and you realize that it's one that's not really as par for the course as the rest of, say, their discography or some of their songs are concerned. It feels a little bit weak. It feels like it is meant to be a single, which is exactly what it was, and you start to recognize that these guys have a great tendency to write some pretty catchy or clever hooks, one that really keep you kind of bobbing your head in approval. There's never a song that these guys release that you ever feel is a bona fide 100% stinker. It just doesn't feel like it's as powerful or as poignant as some of the others that they have put out. Now, there are two ladies that are once again getting features on this album. It has become sort of a tradition of this band in the last couple of discs to have songs that are named after people, and the first is Marie Laveau, and the second is Mary Jane Kelly. Now, these two ladies, respectively, one which was a voodoo practitioner from New Orleans, from the 1700s to the early 1800s, and the other was one of the victims of Jack the Ripper. Now, both of these songs do tell stories, but Mary Jane Kelly, which is track number 8 on this disc, really seems to have the best sense about it. This is one that goes about 5.5 minutes, in fact, a little bit longer than that. It just feels like it's an autobiography based around the song with a little bit of a third party, or at least it's not an autobiography, more of a biography, where the author is also offering his own opinions and his own feelings into the mix. So it's one that has a unique feel that way. And the music that swirls around this definitely benefits it. So once again, we see how a band is able to take their longest track on the album and make it into one that's at least halfway interesting. The nice part about Mary Jane Kelly, though, is what follows it, which is Goodbye Forever, Seal the Deal, which is the title track and also the strongest cut on this album. Great rip and solo on this, and just really a lot of high-tempo, high-energy work really featured on these two tracks. And really the second half of this album really does shine forth as a little bit more memorable as compared to the first. Although the first, with songs such as Let It Burn or The Gates of Babylon, it's not a slouch. It's just whenever you try to compare the two, the strength of the second half just really resonates a little bit more in your mind, even after 5 or 6 different listens. It's just the stronger material. What's nice about that is also that you look forward to it on your subsequent listens. You dig sort of waiting for that power to come, because you're not having a bad time with the stuff that you're not considering all of that powerful. It's still at least average at best, or at least par for Volbeat's course. So based off of that idea, does Volbeat really write stinker songs? No, not really. They just write songs that are a little bit lackluster. Either that or feel like they are staying within the safe confines and not really exploring much of their sound to even more diverse manners. But with this album, I feel that with some of the initial half's material, they really stayed within a safe zone a little bit more than they did with the second half. The second half having a little bit more of a resemblance of a band that's willing to sort of take all of those different aspects of their sound and use it to build something and maybe kind of create their own mark in the overall music universe. Now, Rebound, which is track number 7 right before Mary Jane Kelly, is also a cover. This is becoming another tradition. With the last album, it was My Body by Young the Giant. They've done Hank Williams covers in the past, but this one is by Teenage Bottle Rockets, I believe, or Teenage Bottleneck. Band is just slipping my mind. It's a quick 2.5 minute long track that is fairly well done. The only thing about it is, like the original, it sort of just cuts off at the end, but that's that old school, old style, rockabilly feel. So you kind of have to dig that. Now, there is a deluxe edition of this album that is available that includes a couple of bonus tracks, as well as a live cut of The Devil's Bleeding Crown. One that is very interesting is the less than 1 minute long Slayton, which is, well, the best way that I could describe this is that Volbeat went into the studio and decided that they were going to make a song that sounds like Slayer. In fact, it does have a very eerie remnants to a couple of Slayer tracks. And it's just going to be this quick little, almost subtle homage, either that or maybe just a little laugh track that they put together just for funsies. And you have to appreciate that. You have to appreciate the inclusion of things of this variety in deluxe editions. Deluxe editions of albums are almost becoming the brand new B-sides and rarities, to be perfectly frank. This is where you're getting all of that extra content that perhaps you'd have to wait 20 years and shell out $20 for maybe 12 or 13 tracks that you don't really give too much of a shit about, but are neat to listen to the first time. This is one that's definitely neat to listen to. It's definitely not one that's going to set the world on fire. This isn't Unfurl by Catatonia. This is Slayton by Volbeat. It's just for funsies. So overall, what do we have to say about this album? What is the overall feeling? By comparison to Outlaw Gentlemen and Shady Ladies, I feel that this one's a little bit weaker. However, it's one that keeps the fun factor high, and that's something that's critical. That's something that's very critical not only for an album named Seal the Deal and Let's Boogie, that ridiculous title alone is awesome enough, and it was, tries to signal or guarantee fun, and then you listen to the album, and you do have a little bit of fun. There's some bopping tunes, to quote an old co-worker of mine who loved the word bop. There are some jams, to also quote him once again, but there's also some tracks that I feel could have been developed just a little wee further in order to kind of give it a little bit more of an individual feel to it, as opposed to some of that first half material sounding a lot alike. So that's just sort of a little nitpick thing right there. But overall, I would probably give this album a solid 80 out of 100, 4 out of 5 stars. It's definitely one where if you're a Volbeat fan, you're not going to be let down by this. Now, somebody who is a little more highly critical of the band, somebody who's a little bit more on the fence with this group, may want to actually look elsewhere for stronger material if they want to get knee-deep into Volbeat territory, but I still feel that there is enough here as far as just having a little bit of fun, and their unique sound is very charming. They have a very unique charm to them that make them a hard band to sort of tear yourself away from. And I think that's why so many people have come on board the Volbeat bus. So many people are willing to drive with them to wherever Volbeat is going and listen to the tunes along the way. But I want to know what you guys think about Seal the Deal and Let's Boogie by Volbeat. Let me know in the comments below. My name is CoverKillerNation, and I'm about to boogie, but not for too long, considering we have a couple more albums to talk about this weekend. Albums such as the new one from Hell Yeah, and the new one from Taria. We have to talk about that one next, so stay tuned, come back. We're going to talk about the brand new Taria release up next.